All right, welcome back with a quick little preview here, this time for the last set of regional finals that are going to be kicking off in just a few hours, for China at least, because of the time difference. As opposed to what I did last week, I'm going to be having all three of the regions in this one video, as opposed to making a different video for each region, which means that if you guys want to, you can just check the little time at the bottom here, and you can figure out which region you want to get to if you're just here for one region in particular. However, I will say that for the details, because the details are the same for every region, I'm only going to be going over them at the start of the video. So if you do want to check that out, feel free to just stay here for another like 30 seconds or so. But overall, the format's going to be the same as what I did last week, where I start off with the details, then take a look at the first day schedule, which of course we don't know what the schedule will be for day 2 and 3 because they rely on the results of the first day. Following that, going to be taking a look at the results from Tour 1 when these 4 teams did end up playing against each other, seeing if we can see a pattern, having a little bit of a discussion, and then finally taking a look at the bracket. So without further ado, I'm going to be starting off with China, and then I'm going to be doing Eastern Europe and then North America. So you guys can check out your times once I do these details, which this tournament is going to be taking place from February 18th until 20th. That's 3 days, which means there's going to be 2 series per day per region. Every single series is a best of 3 except for the grand finals, which are a best of 5. For prizes, only the top 2 teams earn DPC points here, which means your team needs to make it to the grand finals if they want to earn any DPC points, which are subject to deductions, which is what we saw in Southeast Asia due to roster changes at the last minute. So it is possible that you earn less than what you actually win here if you have made any roster changes. Not saying that any particular team here has, but just in case for any other region. So, kicking things off, in first place, you earn yourself 250 DPC points as well as $50,000. Second place earns $25,000 and 130 DPC points. And then third and fourth place, no points, but they earn themselves $15,000 and $10,000 respectively. And yeah, that is going to be it for the details. Again, now if you're curious about moving on to your own region, or if you're only here for one region, you can skip ahead. But if you're here for China, I'm going to be kicking things off with the first day schedule, which is going to be starting off at 1 p.m. local time. So again, this is all for China. We have PSG.LGD taking on eHome, which is going to be very, very exciting. Again, PSG.LGD finishing first seed, coming in with just as much momentum as we would expect from a team like PSG.LGD with their performance that they've had this past year. And honestly, I'm really, really excited for the series because eHome was one of the teams that actually managed to take a game off of PSG.LGD earlier on in the tour. And I don't usually get to watch a lot of these Chinese games live just because of the time difference, but lucky for me, this series was one that I actually did watch live, and that series between eHome and PSG.LGD was a pretty good one. Specifically, that game that eHome actually did manage to win, which featured a hard carry Templar Assassin, which of course is nothing new for this current patch, but they managed to beat a nothing to say Tinker, which not a lot of teams can say they've done before. And it was a really, really impressive win, and honestly, it just, again, makes me very, very excited for this. However, eHome, and once we get looking to the Tour 1 results, we'll see that eHome notably really struggled against these top teams, but they were quite consistent when it came to beating the lower tier teams in this division. Following that, at 4 p.m., or whenever the first series is finished, we have Aster taking on Royal Never Give Up, and this is going to be the 3rd time that these teams meet in the past month, due to the fact that they actually met in their head-to-head on January 23rd, and then had yet another head-to-head for a tiebreaker between 2nd and 3rd place on January 24th, and now they're going to be playing up against one another again. The exciting thing is that both series were 2-1, and both teams won one of those series, which means that this could be the deciding match to maybe which team is better. And again, it is entirely possible that these teams meet up in the tournament in the grand finals again. Kind of unlikely when you're sharing a bracket with PSG.LGD, but still possible. So this is one I'm very excited for as well. These teams have proven that they are very, very close to one another here. So, and another thing, God King has done nothing but improve throughout this tour as well. He's been playing fantastically, getting more and more consistent as time goes on. So again, very excited for this. Now taking a look at those Tour 1 results that I've been kind of alluding to this point. On January 3rd, and again, all of these matches are from January because of the way that China laid out their schedule. January 3rd, so all these are recent. PSG.LGD took down Aster in the first series of these two teams head-to-head, and this was actually the first day that their tour started, and a nice 2-1 win. That was a very, very good opening series to this first tour. We then have RNG taking down eHome 2-1. Following that, on January 11th, Aster taking down eHome. So again, Aster cementing themselves as one of the better teams here, and eHome struggling to beat a lot of these higher tier teams, but they made no mistake when it came to play against the lower tier teams like LBCS, like Vici, like Invictus, and like Phoenix, which were their only wins in this tour. Following that, on January 16th, PSG.LGD picks up a nice win over RNG 2-0. This was notably again when RNG was having their inconsistencies with God King, but also playing against a team like PSG.LGD. It's understandable. PSG.LGD would also take down eHome 2-1, a series that I was referencing earlier on, which was a very, very good one to watch. And again, a very impressive showing from eHome. They just unfortunately were not able to close out that series. Following that, January 23rd and 24th, we had the head-to-head matchups of RNG and Aster, where both teams split, but ultimately Aster wins the one that matters, and they secure themselves second place in the division. So again, eHome not winning any of these, PSG.LGD winning all of them, and between Aster and RNG, they both win 2 series each. So these teams are incredibly close to one another. Taking a look at the bracket now, again, all the teams starting in the upper bracket here, PSG.LGD versus eHome, and then Aster and RNG, the winners of which will move on to round 2, thus securing themselves top 3 in the tournament. Losers will drop down to the first round of the lower bracket, where the loser of that series will finish 4th and last place of this division, whereas the winner will be moving on to face the loser of round 2. I'm going to be trying to update this bracket every single day in my reviews. I'm going to be having my reviews of each of the matches in this corner over here. And yeah, that has been it for China. Let me know what you guys think about this region. Who wins this one? This is a really close one when it comes to every other team but PSG.LGD. I ran a poll on my channel, and I think within like the first couple hours, it was like 90% PSG.LGD was going to win this, which I don't doubt it, but I would like to see a little bit more parity in this division specifically. So anyways, yeah, let me know what you guys think. And with that being said, I'm going to be moving on to Eastern Europe. All right, welcome back now with Eastern Europe. Of course, I'm not going to be going over the details like I mentioned. I'm going to be only doing that at the start of the video, which I should have timestamped somewhere around over here, I'd imagine. But yeah, I'm going to be starting off with the schedule, which again is all in local time. Starting things off on, again, February 18th. We're going to be having at 4 p.m. Team Spirit versus Hellraisers. Not going to say that I'm expecting this to be a total wash, but we've had 2 teams that have had pretty drastic differences in their ending of the tour. Team Spirit just being pure consistency all throughout, only dropping 1 game throughout the entire tour, which even then was a pretty impressive game by Team Spirit, despite the fact they were losing the entire time, that being to Na'Vi. Whereas Hellraisers started off fantastic. They were 4-0 to start the season. They were upsetting teams like Virtus.Pro with a fantastic first series win. And then ever since the new year, it has just been a real tank for Hellraisers. And not only have they been losing a lot, but they haven't looked like the games have been as close as they should have been for a team that had been doing so well to that point. So again, I'm curious to see what kind of Hellraisers we end up getting, because we've kind of seen a night and day difference between the team from from 2021 into 2022. And again, I'm just curious to see which version of them we get. I don't know if it'll give them a better chance against Team Spirit or not, even if they're playing at their best, because it is still Team Spirit. But I would love to see a really competitive series here, and I would love to see it upset, despite the fact that I really am a big fan of Team Spirit. But, you know, some more parity would be always nice. And then after that series at 7 p.m., we have PUCCHAMP versus Virtus.Pro, which is one that I'm also very much looking forward to, because opposite to Hellraisers, Virtus.Pro have felt like they've gotten better and better with time throughout this tour. Of course, they put Ilias on their inactive roster. Unclear whether or not he's going to be coming back for this one, but since then they've had Hakoda standing in for him, and I thought Hakoda has been fantastic for Virtus.Pro. Whereas PUCCHAMP has again been another staple of just consistency in this division, only losing to Team Spirit, and have looked pretty damn good otherwise. And so I'm very curious to see how these two teams match up. If we take a look at the Tour 1 results here, kicking things off, again, Hellraisers taking down Virtus.Pro in the very first series between any of these teams in this tour, and that was one that really caught everyone off guard, especially with the fact that Virtus.Pro had made roster changes that they were hoping would improve their roster. They made these changes voluntarily, and then they got off to a kind of rocky start. But credit where it's due, Hellraisers played this series very well. They got off to a good start. Following that, we had Team Spirit taking down PUCCHAMP 2-0 on December 9th, which again was PUCCHAMP's only loss of this tour, which is very impressive considering it's been such a long time as well. Following that, PUCCHAMP, again, showing that they've been very consistent. They take down both Virtus.Pro and Hellraisers in back-to-back series from December 19th all the way to January 13th. So although those are back-to-back listed here, there was quite a lot of time in between them. Following that, Team Spirit gets themselves some back-to-back series wins with 2-0s over Hellraisers and Virtus.Pro. Again, neither of those series looking very close whatsoever. Maybe the Virtus.Pro one being a little bit closer because Hellraisers hasn't looked as good. And then finally, we had on January 23rd the tiebreaker match for 3rd and 4th place between Virtus.Pro and Hellraisers, which is a rematch of the first series, where Virtus.Pro kind of handled Hellraisers. Hellraisers have been on a bit of a downward spiral here. If we take a look at all the teams written in red, we'll see that Virtus.Pro and Hellraisers show up by far the most. However, Virtus.Pro's losses are kind of spread out through the entire thing, whereas Hellraisers are very much condensed in those last 4. They have 3 of the last 4 losses in those series. So, again, a little bit alarming. I'm hoping Hellraisers manages to turn it around, but this is a pretty competitive regional finals here, and with a lot of these teams seeming to get really better with time, and a lot of them just being very consistent in their wins, they can't really afford to be very shaky. Again, you only have to lose 2 series to be eliminated out of this, so we'll see how they go from here. But taking a look at the bracket now, again, kicking things off, Spirit versus Hellraisers, and then PUCChamp versus Virtus.Pro. Winner moves on to round 2, where they will be securing themselves top 3, which means they're one step closer to getting themselves those DPC points, whereas the losers will face off in the first round of the lower bracket, where the loser of that series, which will be on day 2, will finish 4th place and secure themselves $10,000 and no DPC points. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments down below. I'm going to be putting up a poll very shortly regarding who do you guys think is going to win this. I would not be surprised if it's just as one-sided as the China one was, with Team Spirit being the heavily favored one, because ultimately I think they are. They've shown no sign of weakness. Again, even in that one game that they lost, no weakness from them through this entire thing. They're playing with so much confidence, and you can really tell that these guys are really having fun when they're just destroying everybody. So yeah, I'm just hoping for a really competitive regional finals, and you guys can let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And now I'm going to be moving on to North America. All right, and now ending off with North America, which as a whole is probably the regional finals that I'm most excited for out of the 3, just because we don't have any teams called PSG.LGD or Team Spirit in this division, which are more likely than not going to absolutely crush their series. At least that's what the expectation is. As opposed to that, we have a bunch of teams that have all kind of beaten each other throughout this tour, which leads to a lot of parity, which I'm very excited for. So kicking things off, again, February 18th, this all local time, this specifically being Eastern time at 3 p.m. We have Quincy Crew taking on 4 Zoomers, who out of the 4 teams here, 4 Zoomers has definitely been the one that has struggled the most to keep up with the rest of them, which has kind of been the story of 4 Zoomers. Pretty much they've always been kind of a cut below these top 3 teams here, and we see that in the Tour 1 results. If you just take a look at the first 3 teams written in red there, they are all 4 Zoomers. So they managed to take a game off from Quincy Crew in that first series, but ultimately, again, it has really been their struggle to beat these teams. Fortunately for them, it has been over a month since they've had to play against any of them, and they have looked quite good in that time. Of course, those 2 series wins over Wildcard Gaming were very impressive, so we'll see if they learned anything from that and if they're able to apply it in their first series, as they're taking on the first seed Quincy Crew, who have looked pretty damn good ever since they made those roster changes, bar that one series that they did lose to Evil Geniuses, although I don't want to give them any excuses or anything, but they had mentioned heading into that series that they might not be as motivated as they could have been, because that was of course when the major was just announced that it was going to be canceled, and Quinn was kind of going on his solo rant there, which of course totally justified. But yeah, very excited for this first one. Always happy to see an upset if 4 Zoomers manage to pull it off, but I think Quincy Crew is the heavily favored team in this first series. Following that, at 6 p.m., we have TSM, formerly known as Undying, who recently got signed. Good for them. Going to be taking on Evil Geniuses, and very similarly to China, we have the 2nd and 3rd place team playing against one another for the 3rd time. They played against each other in the tour, and then they had tiebreakers against each other, and now they're going to be facing each other once again. And exactly the same as in China, each team has taken a series off of each other. However, they weren't as close. As opposed to RNG and Aster, who both traded 3-game series, these guys kind of just stomped each other in separate series. So I'm very excited to see who wins this one. Again, this could end up being the decider series for who technically wins the first tour between the 2 of them. So yeah, taking a look now at the results from Tour 1, again, a lot of these matches actually taking place in January. These teams had not met up with one another until very late in the tour. Kicking things off, however, on January 4th, we had Quincy Crew taking down 4 Zoomers 2-1. Following that, TSM and EG both took down 4 Zoomers as well. Again, 4 Zoomers really struggling with these teams, but notably, it's just these teams that they struggled with. They really didn't have any issue with taking down any of the teams in the division. Specifically, Wildcard being the other team that I think was remotely close to them in skill. They made it look quite easy. Following that, on January 8th as well, we had Quincy Crew taking down TSM 2-1. EG then taking down TSM and Quincy Crew 2-0 in two very, very good looking series for EG. And this was when Evil Genius was really starting to ramp up their momentum. They had brought in MSS. I am not sure if they're keeping MSS for these regional finals or if it's going to be Nightfall playing for them. I'm not going to try to call anything like that or say that maybe they'll play better with Nightfall or with MSS or anything like that. I think we'll have to see how it goes and what the players feel like doing and feel like what would be best. But regardless, TSM strikes back in those tiebreakers and takes down EG and kind of just stops their momentum right there with a very, very well played series, very dominant 2-0 win. And now finally taking a look at the bracket now. To end things off, again, all the teams starting in the upper bracket. We have our first series here of Quincy Crew versus 4 Zoomers, and then TSM versus Evil Geniuses. The winners of which will move on to round 2 of the upper bracket, thus securing themselves top 3. And then the losers will face off in the first round of the lower bracket on day 2, where the loser of that will be eliminated and earn themselves $10,000, finishing 4th place. And the winner will be moving on to round 2, where they're hoping to win that series to make it to the grand finals, because of course you have to make it to the grand finals to earn any DPC points. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this was kind of laid out a little differently than what I did last week, but let me know if you guys preferred it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this region. Who do you guys think is going to win it? And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with a review of this first day of Dota. So I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.